Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm your boy, Retro Bliss, and this is Retro Bliss Rewind. I thought I had an introduction, and I forgot to cue it. So I don't know what was going on. But anyway, tonight we're going to have a fun episode. We are going to talk about pinball. And we have a future episode that we're going to be talking about pinball, but we're going to have a kind of a casual talk tonight about pinball with our buddy, Greg Parker. Greg Parker is a long time friend of Retro Bliss Gaming and Mike from Mike's Gaming Gala. And so we've invited him to be on the show. And so speaking of Mike, we're just going to bring the panel on and Greg. So before I do that, Brian from BD Retro Mods was going to be on, but something came up last minute and he couldn't be here. So unfortunately, he was unable to be with us tonight. So, but anyway, here's Mike and here's Greg. What's going on, fellas?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, I'll have to pretend to be extra knowledgeable to make up for Brian not being here.
Well, we'll have to do a lot of pretending.
True.
Yeah, I always said that you're my I'm Johnny Carson and you're Ed
McMahon.
Ed McMahon and Brian's Doc Severinsen. But we don't have.
If you're watching this podcast, you probably know who all those people are.
Yeah, that's right. So we're talking pinball. G Parker. I'm so used to calling him G Parker, but Greg, he's one of a quartet of guys who has a show on Sunday nights. It's called The Show, and they get together on Sundays and at 7:00. And what they do is they pick a game, and a lot of times they have these competitions, and they pick pinball games on occasions. And so it's video pinball, and so I love video pinball. I have a Xbox Series X, and I have the Pinball FX app on there with I think there's like 129 tables, and I think I have 94 of them. So I don't have all of them, but I'm working on it. And every time I buy some, they always add more. So it's kind of tough. But what I want to do is I want to kind of give a brief history of pinball, and then we'll just kind of go from there. So is that all right with you guys? Is that all right?
No.
It's not okay. All right. You want me to kick you off already?
No, you can do your history.
Okay. I'm not. It wouldn't be the first time. Okay.
It wouldn't be the first, and it wouldn't be the last.
I'll be fine as long as Poe quits texting me. He says, "Smile, look happy."
Say smile, it increases your face value. All right. All right. Pinball games are a family of games in which a ball is propelled into a specifically designed table where it bounces off various obstacles, scoring points either en route or when it comes to rest. Historically, the board was studded with nails called pins and had hollows or pockets which scored points if the ball came to rest in them. Today, pinball is most commonly an arcade game in which the ball is fired into specifically designed cabinet known as a pinball machine, hitting various lights, bumpers, ramps, and other targets depending on its design. The game's object is generally to score as many points as possible by hitting these targets and making various shots with flippers before the ball is lost. Most pinball machines use one ball per turn, except during special multi-ball phases, and the game ends when the ball or balls from the last turn are lost. The biggest pinball manufacturers historically include Bally Manufacturing, Gottlieb, is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. Anyway.
That's how I pronounce it.
Okay. Williams Electronics and Stern Pinball. Currently active pinball machine manufacturers include Stern, Jersey, Jack Pinball, American Pinball, Chicago Gaming Company, Pinball Brothers, Dutch Pinball, Spook Pinball, and Multimorphic Incorporated, as well as other smaller boutique manufacturers. Boutique. Okay. Now, the history can be traced, according to Wikipedia, back to the 1500s, but some think that the real history began back in the 1930s.
I assure you, people have been playing with their balls for millennia.
Okay. I did say this was PG, didn't I?
Okay. Yes, that's what how did you interpret that?
Okay, I just want to make sure that we didn't have any innuendo on the show. Okay.
None whatsoever.
All right. Back in the 1930s, Gottlieb's Baffle Ball and Raymond's Maloney's Ballyhoo were manufactured in large quantities, and so that's why they say that they don't think that the real history began until then. So, and I'm not going to go into all the detailed history because it's a long history from back then until now. But I will say that pinball did reach the digital age. It started getting into the digital age back in the 80s and the 90s, and it has evolved over the years. And I was telling Mike before the show that, it started with me with video pinball on the Atari 2600. I don't know if that was the first video pinball game ever. It may not be, but it was the first video pinball that I've ever played. Now, you look at that compared to the video pinball that we have today, and it's very crude.
Very different.
Very crude by comparison. But that's the nuts and bolts of pinball. Now, G, he knows a lot more about this stuff than I do. I just wanted to kind of give you guys a kind of a Reader's Digest version of what pinball was and where it came from and all that, and let G kind of take it from there.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for having me on. Yeah, first of all, I appreciate you. I watched your morning show this morning and described me as an expert on pinball, which I don't want to claim to be, because somebody will ask a question in the chat, or matter of fact, I think I can bring up the chat, can I? Over here, I didn't realize that I was out of it.
If you hit the comments, yeah.
There we go. Yeah. We run the same one, but Bart handles the chat for us. But anyway, I appreciate the kind words. I know somebody will ask a question in the group over here, and I'll say I have no idea. But I've enjoyed pinball immensely for years. I think one of the first times that I played pinball, I actually worked for a guy when I was a teenager, pre-driving. That it was an interesting job. He was a vendor, basically a bubblegum vendor. This guy made a fortune off of, if you can remember, back in the 60s, 70s, they still have them, but the Globe.
The big gumball machines.
Gumball machines that, he loaded with gumballs, and you put a penny in, and there was pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters. And our job was to ride around with him and put a safe cleaner on the Globe and add pinballs while he took pinballs. Gum. Yeah. So we worked for this guy, and he just had the coolest house and the coolest stuff. And of course, he had a pinball machine. So that was my first exposure to it. And then, it was just always, anytime I went somewhere when other people were playing arcade games, I'd just always try to find the pinball machines. Of course, unfortunately, that big time hit for me anyway, but not unfortunate for a lot of gamers. The gaming arcade games came out, and the pinball kind of took a nosedive. But I got back into it first with the digital stuff, and then I thought, man, I got to own one. So I ended up, and we'll do a little tour here in a little bit when Bliss wants to let me go do that. But I ended up with 2 digital pinball machines that I built myself, and 2 actual pinball machines. And then I do an arcade cabinet in there. And what went from a media room for me and my wife just to sit in the evening and watch TV got gutted and turned completely into a game room. So
nice.
Yeah.
And for me, Sorry, I just to contribute a little bit. My introduction, because they're starting to. Derek just mentioned, or was it Derek? No, it was Jerome mentioned that he's played a few of the older machines from like the '60s, and I've played a bunch of those, and to me they seem very samey. It's kind of the same components. They're moved around a little bit. There's one or two goals. But when I first got into pinball, that was in the early 90s with like Addams Family, Star Wars, Next Generation, Star Trek Next Generation pinball cabinet, Jurassic Park. So it was like just this awesome, awesome thing. And I would find myself split because I was a big arcade guy, and then I would be I'd split that time. But it's interesting now that as an older person, I've gone back and I've played some of those, and I do kind of like the simpler, because those new ones, it's just keep the ball in play. I have no idea what's going on. Smarter people than me, they know, okay, well, when you get the multi-bottle, you got to hit this and this and this. But for me, those simpler ones, it's like, okay, all you have to do is get into this one, then this one, then this one. And you just keep doing that over and over and over again. And that's how you get your big bonus points. Just thought I'd add that little bit.
Right. Pinball, it's basically, and I don't know really where to begin. You're right. They started out with the actual pinball machines. They were flipperless pinball machines. Matter of fact, I would highly recommend anybody search Google, and you can find a place to watch a movie called The Man Who Saved Pinball. Even though it is a fictional story, it's a fictional story based on truth. So the history that's involved, some of the things are made to make it more Hollywood or whatever.
But I do like the fact in that movie that they keep cutting to the future. And he's like, yeah, it didn't happen like that. But that lets them get away with the fact that they are changing little bits of the story.
That's right, because they do actually have the guy who they're making the movie about in the movie doing the commentary. But it's just really interesting. Chicago was the big area for manufacturing of pinball machines. And I think they were the first ones to make pinball illegal. And I almost compare it to Jack Daniels in Tennessee. The county that they produce Jack Daniels whiskey in is a dry county. So that's kind of what happened. And it was the bigger cities. I don't think it was never a national law. I believe it was like New York. And I think it was twofold. One is people didn't want their kids hanging around at a pinball arcade. That's where the kids went to smoke cigarettes and wear their leather jackets and do terrible things. The other thing is I think they got upset over the fact that they considered it gambling. They said, that you won items, you won a free game, you won something. So you're putting in money and winning something.
And the game was solely luck.
Right.
Which the early kind of more pachinko kind of games kind of were.
Right.
You still with the plunger, you decide how hard you hit the ball. And I did play one of the 1930s ones. It had these little planes on the table, and they were open, and you'd hit them and they'd flap down. And it was like, okay, you flew to Chicago, you flew to New York, whatever. And there was a little bit of skill, but it was still primarily a luck game. As soon as you add the paddles, though, I mean, and any game has luck in it, but it becomes more of a skill-based thing.
Yeah, and the guy that did this, and it's in the movie, he actually went before the big shots in Chicago, and I can't remember the names now, but they're names that you would know, you've heard about in history. Mm-hmm. The big leaders, which weren't always the most up and up people, to be accusing people of doing stuff. I mean, but long story short,
politicians say it ain't so.
Yeah, but this guy went and basically took a pinball machine to one of their city council meetings, I guess you'd call it, and showed him how he could play a pinball machine. I think he played for I'm maybe exaggerating, but like an hour. He showed that nudging the table and when you timing of hitting the flippers and holding the ball and stuff could make a difference. And that's finally, I think, what saved it. He convinced
them it was a game of skill.
Right. Now, I do have. I hope Bliss. I hope you don't mind me doing this, but I got a question for people. I like to involve the people in the chat. See if anybody can throw in the chat the name of the first pinball machine that had flippers. Does anybody know the name of the first pinball? Because that's kind of an interesting thing.
I don't know that one.
The oldest pinball machine known to have the first one to have flippers. So if anybody's got that, I'll.
Phil, I hope you're very proud of me that you put that comment up, and I'm not going to say anything.
I didn't catch all that. Unfortunately, that's why Bart handles the chat on my channel. Unfortunately, that screen that I'm having to watch tonight is a little small for me catching everything, so I don't always catch it all. But yeah, it's just interesting. There was that's a big deal, but
that
I guess to go from then to now,
it's a palette thing,
huh?
You're not reading it the way I was reading it.
Oh, did I read? Oh,
I know exactly what he meant, but I'm more on the you're not going to put it up, but more like Mr. Post style here.
I'm never putting anything
way.
Mr. Post style puts up there in the chat, so don't worry about that.
So in the chat, Operation Shutdown was kind of the first to jump on. He says Humpty Dumpty. Was that
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. So you got that right. And since you mentioned, I think you were talking.
And what year was that? Do you know what year Humpty Dumpty came out?
1947.
Wow. So you're saying that anybody who didn't make it through World War II never saw a real pinball machine?
There you go.
That's terrible.
That I think that's what the big thing though. Now it started becoming more. I don't know. There's a debate about this. The digital pinball machines started being made, and they're basically community made. Now, without going too far, I've gotten in trouble on my own channel. There's always divisions amongst people, and there's always been bickering of what's better. There's pinball. There's VPX pinball. And then there was one called Future Pinball, and Future Pinball kind of outshined. VPX outshined Future Pinball, but then some guys came along. There's a guy named Terry Reed that you might see a lot of on YouTube and the social media. That he's developed a lot of things. And he's made those look even better. There's some guys that are really almost genius level that create these tables. Now, one of the things they've done is they have, some of the newer machines have ROMs. They've used the ROMs or used the likenesses of those machines, the real machines, in the video pinball. And you start thinking, okay, well, how come this hasn't been a problem? Because, but the story that I get is that video pinball and its coming of age and people getting interested in it, which the big advantage to that is the fact that less maintenance, and you do have the ability to put, I got one table that's got 1,300 different tables on it. So, and they take up a lot of room. But the manufacturers, such as Stern and that, were noticing that with the craze hitting with the video pin, their sales started increasing.
Yeah,
you find a pinball table that you really like, and you get the real one.
Right, and and there's something to be said. And I won't say. Well, I guess I am going to say what the video pins are great and fantastic and look good, and that's exactly where you hit the nail on the head. That's what happened to me. But one thing I've always said, and I hear it from other people all the time,
it's not the same.
Yeah, you don't know it until you feel that ball. Now they've come up with some great haptic feedback. And you supposedly can feel the ball rolling down the table, but there's nothing more exciting than when that Stranger Things pinball machine of mine says, throws out a call and says multi-ball, and then they all start coming down, and you got 6 balls.
And you feel that ka-chunk, ka-chunk.
Oh,
yeah.
even striking the glass. I mean, I don't know how many times we struck the glass inadvertently with a pinball, and it's like it just like freaks you out. Never had to replace one yet.
There is okay. Since you were talking about things striking the glass, are you familiar with the Safecracker pinball machine?
Mm-hmm.
So you know that originally it had coins that if you did a certain thing, a coin would literally pop out, hit the table, and roll down towards you, hit you right in the belly. Pastimes Arcade, they made their own coins for their Safecracker machine.
Wow.
And there's 4 different ones. I went with Michael Thomason. I am not good at pinball. I am not a good pinball player at all. He won 4 of them, but one of them was a double, so he gave me the double. But they made their own coins, and you're playing, and this thing actually pops up. It bounces on the glass of the top of the pinball machine and just hits you right in the belly. And even if you know it's coming, it shocks the heck out of you. Just like, whoa, 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 there's something. Why is this tapping on the glass? Why is this? But it's wild. Like there's a lot of cool things you can do with physical machines. There's a lot of cool things you can do with video pinball, but I'm kind of more on your side. The big attraction to pinball is the mechanical stuff. The stuff I hit that and now this moves and this does that and all the lights flash. The machines that I tend not to be a big fan of are the ones that are just really static. Like I really am not a fan of the some of the like the more recent it's a Pulp Fiction cabinet, but I love the Godzilla cabinet because there's a ton, like you break the bridge, the building collapses, like everything's happening in the pinball Godzilla cabinet, and I love that.
There's so many different. See, that's another thing. You started out with electromechanical. There was really no digital age to it. It was, and I will tell you, I don't have an electromechanical, but they had rolls and reels and things, and everything was, switches, but a million miles of wire. I mean, literally. I mean, a lot of wire.
If we want to be specific, I was talking to the repair guys. There's approximately 3 miles of wire in every pinball of every one of those old pinball machines.
Right.
Wow.
So, like it's not a million miles, but that's a heck of a lot of wire.
That's a lot of wire.
But with that, there's also even the newer ones are still loaded with wire.
Yep.
Some of the big differences, like both of mine are my first one I got was 1977. The year my
as a car.
Yeah, wow. That was the year my son was born, and actually the year I started my career. And so it's easy to remember that year, but it is a solid state machine. Now it's solid state in a different way. It's got a computer board in it, but it's got a lot of mechanical things. And for example, when you fire it up, it plays a little tune. Well, it's interesting. If you look in there, it's not an electronic device. It's a xylophone with plungers that electronically fire and play the little tune. And when you get a ball or an extra ball, and when the knocker goes off, if you want a free game, it's this big plunger that just bangs the crap out of the side of the pinball machine. There's a dent. Awesome. There's a dent in the side of it.
That's also why pinball is such a pain to maintain.
Well, the only thing I did to that machine right off the bat is I read that one of the biggest disasters for those is they had to have a battery hooked to them to retain the high scores and all that on the board. Well, now, gosh, now I'm going to make myself out to be stupid because it was right on the tip of my tongue. I got somebody to replace that with me with a.
Oh, okay.
I forget the term for it, but all it was something that was soldered to the board that had to be desoldered. Well, you took the battery out, and then you put this other little
like square, a new chip.
Yeah, a new chip in.
Yeah.
And it keeps track. So once I did that, but it's old. I mean, 77. What? That's 43 years, 47 years old. 40.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's as old as Star Wars.
Yeah. And I love that table. I converted a lot of the lights over to LED lights, which is easy. It only has one ball in it. By comparison, I bought the Stranger Things, and see, and you know, it uses 6 balls, and it's amazing. It's not even hooked to the internet. The newer ones, even since that one, which I've had that one for 3 years, and I bought it new, they've got newer ones now that hook up to the internet. As a matter of fact, you can scan them with your phone, and it will keep track of your score on a database. So you can see how you're like all the guys on my channel and our show that we do, we all kind of, you talked earlier, Bliss, about the competitions that we do. We do that with all our games. And the thing is, these things automatically keep track of that. So if we all had, which is impractical, if we all had the same table, we'd be able to do that. But it's all run. This is where I was headed to. That big machine is all run off of a micro SD card. I kid you not. The whole program is on a micro SD card. Because they tell you,
doesn't surprise me.
If you lose,
doesn't surprise me at all.
If your machine screws up, get your micro SD card, go online to Stern. You can re-download the table. There are also people who've cracked them that have changed the music and stuff in them and changed some of the stuff that they obviously Stern probably agreed to because of copyright reasons didn't. But now you're hearing of these homebrew or pirated ones that go into your machine. I never put one in mine. I heard about them, but I also heard that if it ever went on the internet and it found out, Stern could basically just kill your machine.
Turn off your machine.
Yeah, just make it a doorstop.
No.
So, you got to be careful with that. But yeah, so it's come a long way. And the only other thing I'll say about digital pinball is it has progressed so fast that just think about it. How many times have you been wanting? I keep thinking about professional people. I'm not, obviously. I'm retired. But I always think about these poor people that go somewhere to set up for a conference or something, turn on their Windows computer, and it says time to update. Well, see, I think that's one of the issues now of digital pinball is that all of it's built, community built, volunteers. People aren't charging for the tables. But I think they're having to keep up with Windows. If Windows makes an update, is their stuff going to work? And then their stuff gets better and they make better version 1.0, 2.0, 5.0, 2001.5. So,
and that's something that affects everything. Every time I turn on my PlayStation or my Xbox, it's a new, or even my Switch. Needs an update. It's like, come on, I just want to sit down and play.
So that's kind of been something that on the 2 digital pinball machines, I basically, when I first got into it, I built them up. I was learning, and that's how my channel started. I was giving people advice on how to do that. And now it's gotten so far, I basically got my machines built and didn't update them because I had like 2 machines with like 1,500 tables apiece on them. And, I never, to this day, I haven't played them all. So I just never had. So a lot of times people ask me on my channel, hey, I heard about this update. Can you tell me how I can work with it now? And I go like, no, I can't, because it's gotten past me to the point that it's, you just almost get, I hate to sound this way, but you almost gotta, if you're just starting out, you really have to go to those people's sites and just pay attention and figure out how to get it done. I was trying to help people with that, and I did it for quite a while, but it got too involved for me. It was turning into a full-time job, just keeping track of how they do it.
And that's one of the big reasons that I haven't gotten into the MAME. I haven't gotten into I still have to talk to Derek about that stuff. He's offered to help me out. But Jerome has my speed more. But there is I have never had to update my Atari 2600.
Hope you guys don't mind me saying, but I
had to update Stella, though.
True.
I just want to put in my little plug. I do see Arcade. I think I've seen Mr. Post. They're all right there in a row. I think Mike, the Gaming Road Warrior. I want to thank them for showing up. Of course, I know they're good friends of the channel here with Bliss, but they're also my compadres.
Yeah, I know they're supporting you, bro.
I want to thank. Now Poe did tell me if you if you do well tomorrow night, he told me last night, if you do well tomorrow night, I'd appreciate it if you'd say that I recommended you to be on the show. And he says, if you do lousy, don't mention my name. So that's just kind of where we stand right now.
We don't want you to do too well. You'll replace my spot.
I don't see that happening. I do enjoy when you guys come over to our show too. But long story short, if you guys would like to see my machines,
I think we should get the little tour.
So I will give a tour. Now I have to enter the studio again with my mobile device, and I'm going to make this as. I hope I'm in now.
Yeah, you are. Let me know when you want me to add you, though.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to leave the room because obviously I'm getting a lot of feedback being in the same room with her.
Okay. All right.
Whenever you want to, it's good with me. I'm just going to walk down the hall.
While he's walking, why don't I show this?
Okay.
I have always said that I don't have a pinball machine, but technically I do have a pinball machine. Friend of the show, Michael Thomason, gave me this as a birthday gift a couple of years ago. And this is a fully proper electromechanical pinball machine. It was made, I believe, in the late 70s, maybe the early 70s, early 80s. But it is a proper pinball machine with real bumpers. It's got lights when you plug it in. So there you go, guys. I do actually have a pinball machine.
Oops, I'm sorry. I'm going to remove him. I added him too quick.
Oh,
Well, at least it wasn't in the bathroom.
I sent you a message. I need you to answer me real quick, Mike. But anyway, pinball tables. I can remember when I was
Yes.
You do?
Invite Poe.
Okay.
Poe, you want to come on?
Poe, I'm sending you a link, bro.
And Operation Shutdown says, notice Mike has American pinball. Yes, it was given to me by an American.
Okay, I think he's in now, so let's go.
Okay, well, I don't know why, but I can't.
Maybe you can make him big and us small on the side.
And I can't hear you guys, so I hope you're hearing me okay.
Yes, we hear you. Can you hear us? Okay.
Okay, as long as you're hearing me. Well, I'm just going to do a quick, we won't do this long, but when you first enter the room, I'm rather proud of this device here. We got the little arcade sign that we hooked up.
I love that.
And then we've got a little dry bar, which we're not drinkers, but it's just a nice place for people to sit. But this used to all be just couches and chairs, and we'd sit around and watch TV. But this is the first V-Pin I built. It's basically got PC. It's running a Pinball Emporium, which also you can run Pinball FX3 on. And then I can shut that all down and change over to Pinball FX Pinball or Pinball M. So I'm running basically all three of those on this machine. This is the 1977 Stern Stingray. It's still
Nice.
a solid state table.
Like that.
But it's cool. It's a lot of fun. Let's see.
Wait, what's that little T. Parker image at the bottom there?
That is the xylophone. That is baked in, and there's no electronics now. It's all those sounds you're hearing is plungers hitting a xylophone. You can see all the top bumpers, and it had it all gone through and everything working good on it. We'll let that drain. 2000. I'd have to look up and see what year this was manufactured, but I bought it in 2000. This is a Stranger Things. When I get back to the office where broadcast from, I'll give you a little more history on how I ended up with this thing. Another V-Pin. The reason I built the second one was because I had one of the biggest problems getting the right size tempered glass, because I didn't want kids coming over and stuff. I didn't want anybody getting hurt. Well, I know a guy that works at a tempered glass factory, and he says, "What size do you need?" I told him, and he says, "Well, the guys made it. They said they didn't want to make one, so they made two." So I thought, well, I got 2 pieces of glass. I'll just buy some more wood and another computer and make one.
I love
At
that.
Games Ultimate Legends. Just the only reason I'm bringing that up is because that is where I first started playing digital pinball, because At Games, as you all may know, and Arcade 1-Up came up with the digital pinball on these cabinets first. And then both of them ended up making, actual homebrew pinball machine. And then just finish off the room. There's a Raspberry Pi hooked to that. There's a little record player, old vinyl record player, and little Mario stuff, and a little bar, and little retro 80s music. So it's kind of a neat little place. Last thing I'm going to say real quick, I'll go back to the office. This machine here never usually gets turned on. It's an arcade one-up bar top Gala.
Yeah, that's because the top score isn't yours.
His wife came up to visit one time from Texas, and they stayed with us for a few days. And Bart got the high score and put his initials on there, and I could never beat it. So I leave it off most of the time because I don't want to see his initials on my bar. So.
You want to defile on your.
So Phil, you can take me out, and I'll be back in the office.
Oh,
Take him out, Phil.
Okay, I am. I'm sorry. I was trying to. Okay.
And
Let me get. Okay,
Yeah,
there we
you
go. I'm sorry.
There you go.
Still waiting on Poe. If I haven't heard back, so he's probably getting his camera set up.
He's probably run into the shed.
Yeah, that's okay.
Anyway, I apologize. I guess we should have texted that out first, Phil. I couldn't hear you guys at all, so I just figured
we were making fun comments about how the high scores on those aren't yours, and ukuleles.
Yeah, and how Bart had defiled your game room with his initials and.
Yes.
Well, actually, his initials went on there, and his wife Kelly put her initials on the Stranger Things. Unfortunately, the Stranger Things had an update, which is rare for one that's been out this long. But they added some more games to it.
There was an update, the score scrubbing update.
And they said that it would not affect anything on your table, your high scores, and it didn't, except for the challenges, and that's what Kelly had the high score on, and it zeroed them out. And of course, Bart is accusing me of saying, that's not true. He just erased the names, and that's okay. Whatever he wants to think.
I think he's got a good point, Greg.
How convenient.
I do want to say something though while I got a chance. See, I told you, Phil, we were worried about getting an hour in out of this. It's not talking pinball. You can get a good length of time out of it. And I don't.
It won't. I mean, we could go. We could keep going, man.
Oh yeah, Greg's on the show. Everybody, pop a Werther's Originals. Sit back in your rocking chair and let's talk pinball.
Yeah.
There you go. But what brought me to that machine is the popularity hit, and we actually have I'm disappointed, but I heard they're going to reopen a different location. We had a place open here in the Kansas City area that had like 30 or 40 pinball machines, and they charge you just $5 an hour, $10 for 3 hours, and $20 for all day. And the machines are just wide open. You can play them. So I was down there playing a lot. And then there's a place that sells them not too far from here, but oh my, they just think theirs are worth a lot more. I went there one time and I priced them out, and I was about ready to pull the plug on one. And what I wanted was, I'm a big Guardians of the Galaxy freak and Marvel. Okay. And I actually ordered, I finally searched the web. This buddy of mine told me, he says, search the web. You can cut deals with people, but they got real popular. So I ordered a Guardians of the Galaxy. And everybody knows new one, yeah.
Wow.
And everybody that knows me knows I got to have something to gripe about. That's my old man thing. And I will tell the story. It sounded like a grouchy old man. The guy said it would be 6 months before it came in. I said, hey, I got you. But he wanted payment in advance. So I sent him the payment. I figured it's the way the world worked. And it was a heck of a lot better deal.
Sure it is.
But the part that didn't work is he called me up 3 months into it and says it's going to be a couple months later, and the price went up. And I said, no, pal, I don't think you understand something. When I prepay for something, I bought it now. I'm just waiting for it to come in. I own it now at that price. Yeah. He says, no, it doesn't work that way. You got. I said, well, I want my money back. So we kind of had words, and I got my money back. But I finally found another place. I kept thinking, man, I just don't want this waiting game, and I don't want to have. And my wife and I did thoroughly enjoy watching Stranger Things, the TV show. So I went down to the pinball place, and I found that they had a Stranger Things down there. So we played it a few times. And I went ahead and pulled the plug on it and had that one shipped. And the guy cut me a heck of a deal. He had it. He said if he'd ship it to a FedEx shipping hub instead of my house, he'd give me free shipping. And I'll tell you, that's the last thing I'll say about that is that thing now, I'm really weird about people playing. If women come over with big rings on, they got to take them off because that thing is spotless. And I've already been offered $1,500 more than I paid.
Wow.
And I think it's going to be.
Pull them and show them.
Yeah, I'm trying. I didn't want to stop.
He's looking that way, so I figured I'd switch him.
Am I looking the right way? Hello, Poe.
Yeah, he's looking that way. I want him looking at Poe. You got it. We got a visitor. What's going on, Poe?
Hey, pouring down rain here. I didn't have my hair done for this show. I had the curlers in. I was watching TV with the wife, so I had to make a break for it.
You didn't have time for makeup either.
You got to keep that. I'm sure at some point you definitely had the curlers going. You used to have a magnificent mullet.
It was beautiful.
I don't know, Phil. I hope you're not going to regret later having Poe and me on at the same time. I'm not sitting there trying to be good.
So
I think he might be a little more concerned about Poe and me on at the same time.
Yeah, well, the thing of it is, I will have to say that when Poe is on live on camera on the channel, he always behaves himself. He always does. But on the chat,
he's more dangerous in the chat.
He cannot behave himself. It's like Jekyll and Hyde. But
I try to stop myself. I'm like, I shouldn't send this one. Let's see if Mike likes it.
First one, the Custer's apology in that last episode. I died.
Poe knows too during the live stream. Actually, even during this show, because I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. So I'm trying to interact. I'm trying to do the chat. I'm trying to MD and all. I can't do it all, and so he'll put something that shouldn't be in my chat that I don't like. At least I shouldn't say shouldn't be in there. Something that I don't like, and then if I like in the regular chat, I'm not. I really don't care that much because it's not being shown on screen. But then during the podcast, if I'm not paying attention, I have been known to put what he's put on there. So from now on, there's a rule.
That's on you. That's on you.
It's on me. So from now on, Poe, don't expect to be on the screen anymore. Anyway, I gotta say something about pinball for the contest for the show every week, and I will say the last couple of weeks I really haven't had a chance to really watch what's going on with like the pinball contests and things like that. And I know like last week, not this week, but last week you guys didn't have a pinball game picked so much. But when you guys do pick games for the Pinball FX games, it seems like almost every time you guys pick a table I don't have.
I know, and
what? I got 94 tables, and so the 35, one of the 35 tables I don't have you guys pick, and I'm like, I'm not buying a table until why can't they pick one of the 94 tables I have?
You had the Knight Rider one last week, though, didn't you?
I just played pinball on the channel just because I wanted to play pinball. It wasn't because it was out.
Yeah, but they did Knight Rider, and you had that table.
They didn't do Knight Rider. I just played it.
Well, first
they have done Knight Rider, and at that time I didn't have it, but I decided to buy it. Because
they just know you're going to mop the floor with them, so they avoid tables.
I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is. It's they're. So.
Well, to give you some history on that tournament, I started those, and then Off Grid Arcade started doing a show with me, and we shared the responsibility on it. And then that's when Mike and Poe came along and joined up. And so we just kind of turned it into the arcade games challenges we do in the pinball. Now, those pinball have been a reoccurring. The reason we didn't have one last week is because we have one going this week, is because we play a multi-week tournament and keep track of scores. There's scoring for showing up and playing. and then we have a playoff, which is what we're in right now. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Now, as far as having tables that you don't have, I am in direct communication with a guy at Zen Studios. He happens to be the custodian because they're across the pond, over there, and you can't get a hold of the office during the day. So I talk during the day. I call over there and I talk to the custodian. His name is Lars. You'll see a video from the past. He's going to be back on the show again here pretty soon, and he's got a deal worked out that if we can get people to have to buy machines to join our tournament, well, he's going to steal some stuff because he's not a guy that works there. He's just a janitor. But he's going to get some stuff to it. So, special shout out to Lars. And what was the other guy's name, Poe?
Oh, his assistant was Jules.
Jules, yes, Jules.
He came from a very prominent family over there that everybody's heard of, the family Jules. I remember him telling us that.
No. Anyway, that tournament thing has been a big thing, though, and we do give out a trophy every year. It looks the same. It's got the same little figure on it, little thing that says you won. We do a spring, a summer, and a fall tournament. So we're doing the fall one now. Yeah, I think. I don't know. What are we doing, Post?
Spring. We're finishing spring. Another.
I'm like, it's not fall yet.
Another loss for me.
It shows you how good I am at the game.
Gee, I think you got your seasons. Are you retired?
Oh, yeah, I've been retired.
Okay, that explains why you got your seasons messed up.
Yeah, I don't even know what day it is. I mean, I told my wife, I said, you remind me tonight to go downstairs and get my computer turned on. Because I said, I think it's Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? Yeah.
That's what I said. When my dad was aging, he's like, he didn't know what day of the week it was. So, Dad, it's
during the
Tuesday.
summer. My kids don't even know what day of the week it is.
Right.
You talk about age. I just came off a solid weekend, 3-day weekend of celebration. Our high school had a big class, and we just celebrated my 50-year high school reunion. So I had that going on last week. So I actually graduated high school 3 years before my Stern pinball machine was built in 1977.
Which is funny. I made a comment on your show. You graduated high school the same year my dad graduated high school.
Oh, really?
Were you born in 56?
Yep.
You were the same age as my dad.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Anyhow, pinball.
Well, I think that, we could sit and discuss pinball forever. And I'll tell you, it's just, to me, it's what got me started in the YouTube thing as far as my channel. Of course, I've kind of backed off from, and I get it. You guys have got great channel. I know, Phil, that you are, and Poe especially, are in NES and Atari. And
He says I'm a pro.
yeah, but
I know, Greg, I know you're in a lot of Phil's streams. You clearly don't actually watch them. You just listen and play in the chat.
I don't have expert gameplay. I tried
Some games he does. Chopper Command, nobody touches Phil.
It's just, I try to introduce games and and learn games. Cause a lot of these games, I didn't get into retro gaming until COVID. I was an Atari 2600 guy. And then I went from straight to that to PC. And then I was PC gamer until COVID, basically. So a lot of this stuff I'm learning, and a lot of these games I'm learning for the first time. Actually, I can't necessarily say that anymore because I've been doing it for 3 years now. But even so, that I've played so many games, I haven't played them enough to be good at them. But I played games a lot that I've kind of been exposed to them.
I think hanging around with Poe and Mike, especially, and Bart, but Bart's into this the pinball and the simulation. He does a lot of the VR stuff. But Poe and Mike, I've started expanding. I started getting into the Raspberry Pis. I think that was a lot to do with that. And playing those retro games there. Of course, my ROG Alley, I've now got Retro Arch on there. But then I got the Xbox, which Poe and Mike almost disowned me for that because they're PlayStation guys. But I'll tell you what, right now I just did this afternoon. shot a video that's going to come out playing my 5th episode of Gears of War. And I never thought in the life of me that I'd ever be playing these Xbox Call of Duty type games.
First person shooters.
Yeah, and I just kind of got
Gears of War is a third-person shooter.
Okay.
To be fair.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, you're just behind him.
Oh.
You know, I got criticized one time on my channel because I said something. I called a game a certain type of game. There's first person, and so there's kind of a little joke over there with us. If you ever hear me say it's a RFG, and they'll say, "What's an RFG?" I go, "Well, it's not a first person. It's not this. It's a RFG. You know what?
It's a
RFG
random effing game.
No, it's a real fun game. It's really
Real fun game.
Yeah, I don't care if it's what it is. It's real fun.
There you go. That's all that matters, really.
I play what I like when I can.
And it's great that you've been playing in like the arcade and like the NES challenge and stuff, because then Derek has competition for the bottom of the score list.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Poor Derek.
That's how to treat your guests there, Mike.
Derek's
Greg's cool. Greg's cool.
Thanks for being on the show, because I know you're not coming back, G.
No, because he's watched. That proves to me that he's watched my channel, because I'm the first to say. First of all, even if I'm the last place, I'm not really last place. The guy who didn't play is in last.
That is true.
That's right. That's right.
And the fact is, every Sunday, pretty much, unless it's a really busy night, you will find me in the chat of the show. It's a great show on Sundays.
I always tell people when I play fantasy football, winning isn't everything, but losing's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got a whole lot of nothing.
We got a whole lot of nothing over here.
and that's kind of the way we do our talent on our channel and our show. We do the pinball thing, and I just kind of got it started with that little trophy place up the street.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't cost me, but a few dollars. It costs me more to ship it to people than it does to. I'm praying that somebody in England doesn't win one of these days, because that'll cost 10 times.
Oh my word! You can't even ship to Canada now.
It's a good thing I'm not good at pinball. You don't even have to ship to Canada.
Yeah. But but now the games, the arcade and the other games that we do are that's just for giggles, for bragging rights. And Poe keeps a good eye on everybody, because he'll be the first one to go on Discord and call a cheater a cheater.
Yeah, he's called me a cheater more than once.
Yeah, anytime you get 1 point over me, you've got to be cheating.
Okay, why don't we? Because we're kind of getting into the last 8 minutes or so. Do you have any? Maybe we could go around, because even people who aren't, pinball pros, been and played hundreds of cabinets. I'm of the opinion that everybody has at least a couple favorites. Do you guys have any favorite pinball machines of any era? And it doesn't matter if you've only paid $5 and this is my favorite of that 5. That works too.
Well, if you don't mind me jumping in, I'll just say real quick, because I know exactly what mine is. And I wish I could, I'd like to think that I can afford whatever I want now, but I can't afford this one. And because I went to the place and he had one, and he told me what he paid for it, and I know he'd want a profit, and I said, "You're out of your mind." Batman 66. I want the real.
Oh, yeah.
Really? Okay.
Most amazing, the call-outs, the colors, the old footage of the Batman show, the pow, the wham, all that. It's all there. And when I go to that pinball place, 90% of the time I'm standing in front of Batman 66.
Yeah.
And if I could get it in my back pocket, I'd steal it, but I just can't do it. That's all I got.
Yeah, well, Offred said it right there. Monster Bash is awesome. And I do like Addams Family, maybe just because of the theme. But the actual table, it's cool to see that out. But I don't get out to play actual tables.
Which one, the 90, so. the 92, 93 Addams Family? Or that was a great one.
Medieval Madness, that's another good one. Another table.
Yeah, playing on FX, Medieval Madness, I love that.
I like
actual tape.
my exposure to pinball tables basically is what I've seen from the Pinball FX collection, because I'm not a pinball expert by any means, but I know that these tables in the digital collection are fashioned from the real thing. I like the fish tails. I like that one. You don't like that one?
And next, you're going to say the My Little Pony table.
I like the Tesla. Nobody else likes the Tesla.
Anyway,
Phil,
I like the Creature from the Black Lagoon. That's a good one.
Phil, when I first started watching your channel, I realized there were certain things that triggered you, and I won't even mention what they are, but I just know there's one particular game out there that when people started
as
dogging
long
you
as
about,
it's not 2600 Pac-Man, I'm okay with.
Pac-Man fever.
Well,
Let me-
thanks a lot, Greg. It's been derailed.
well, let me get to
He's
the
outta
point.
here.
Let me get to the point of the story, though. I always defended Phil on that because I always said I don't blame him one bit, because I've got two things that trigger me, and that is fishtails.
That's your kryptonite, huh?
That is, and there's one other thing, and that's the mention of the store GameStop. So I don't want to get your your channel in trouble, but I don't want to hear anybody mention GameStop. I got a GameStop.
Can we say EB Games?
The good old days. Well, here it was the good old days. I think it still exists other places, right?
Yeah, it's just
we're GameStop now, but we switched much later than you guys. Sorry, Phil, you had another table that you were going to say.
I forgot now.
I'm sorry, Phil.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you'll remember. I'll say mine. If we're talking classic, more classic, Black Knight 2000. I love that table only for the music, because it's got like this metal theme. And for me, I always get like, if you can get that chorus kind of doing the that I'm in the zone there, and I can just really focus on that. But modern. It really surprised me. The new Elton John table. I think it's from Jersey Jack, or is that? I think it's Jersey Jack. But
Jersey Jack.
The new the Elton John. The one I played was the collector edition. I played it at the same place that made the coin, Pastimes Arcade, and it was I'm not a massive. I like Elton John music, but I'm not like a massive Elton John fan. It's not anything that I'm like picking that playlist or anything, but I just kept playing and playing and playing. It was so good. I liked it a lot. Did you remember, Phil? Did that give you enough time?
No.
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 Phil,
I'm done. What I really would like to do, and I didn't know I was going to be asked that question. I'd like to look on the list of the games that are on the Pinball FX and see what are on there, because there are 94 tables on there that I played, and I know that there are a number from the I'm having a brain fart. The Williams collection that I like, but I can't think of what they are offhand.
Fun House.
I love Fun House. I do. I love Fun House. That's a good table.
Good table.
Yeah, I do. I love that table. I was thinking of that one, but I couldn't remember the name of it.
Do you have a pinball place in your area, Phil? Do you have a pinball?
Cincinnati's not a very fun place to be.
You live within a couple hours of this place, Pastimes Arcade.
That's
yes,
the key.
But that's the thing. Even if I only lived 2 hours away, I would be here every weekend. It is $20 to play free play, like 460 pinball tables and about 200 arcade machines.
It's probably more than 2 hours though for me. It would probably be.
It's still worth it. I booked a hotel to go there for a day and a half.
I get that, and I may do that. That sounds like a good vacation for me. But the wife, she'd be like,
bring Moria.
Oh, she would love that.
She would love it.
Andrew
I'm
and
going
Corey would
to
love that, but Rhonda, no, not so much.
to do a little wind down. I would like to share this.
Okay.
So the guy that owns Pastimes Arcade, he is the Guinness World Record holder for the largest video pinball collection in the world, over 1,000 cabinets, and he's acquired more since he became the world record holder. He also has a Guinness World Record for the longest running pinball expo, and that is celebrating 40 years this October in Chicago. And this year they are combining with the 2024 Video Game Summit, which is just outside of Chicago. There are factory tours of Jersey Jack Pinball, Stern Pinball, the Galloping Ghost Arcade, Chicago Gaming Factory, Logan Arcade, American Pinball Factory, seminars, autograph sessions, and all that. And because I am a friend of Michael Thomason and I was able to go and meet Rob Burke, I'm actually going to be a speaking guest at this convention, at this expo. So if you are able to make it, I would love to see you there. Obviously, tons of pinball, all free play. There's going to be tons of arcade stuff and video game stuff. No matter what you're into, if you're anywhere near Chicago, and he is aiming to make this the biggest one ever because it is their 40th anniversary. So he's going.
That's October.
October 15th to 19th.
Let's go, Poe.
Let's go.
Road trip.
I'll meet you in Columbus off I-70. Come pick me up, Poe.
And yes, Operation Shutdown. I was booked for an autograph session, and it's going to be the most embarrassing thing ever. I'm going to be beside people that actually matter, and just be like sitting there.
I am coming in. I'm going to make you sign my boobs.
I would do it.
I thought you were going to make it. Poe.
From what I live here, I'll tell you, I've been to Chicago before, and I'll tell you, the cheapest way for me to get to Chicago and the most comfortable is there's an Amtrak station that's not too far from my house. You just get on it. I think you pay $15 extra for first class. Man, you just sit back and ride the rails. That would be a cool
ride the rails. But I have a feeling like if you're at all into any of this stuff, it'll be worth it, especially if you could get some of those tours. Being able to walk around Stern's production thing, that'd just be awesome.
Well,
and for those who can't go, I will be documenting it very thoroughly.
Very good. That means you need to subscribe to Mike's channel to check out his video when he posts it. So, yeah. All right. Well, I think it's been a very productive and informative episode. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate you giving us your insight and expertise and your tour of your game room and all your stuff. And excited to have you on. And thanks, Poe, for popping in and
taking up space, taking up that fourth space.
Yeah, no, you did more than that. I appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for being here. But
you're like Marsha Brady down there.
And Marsha. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for being here on Retro Bliss Rewind. Tuesdays, 8:00 Eastern Standard Time. For all of you who have been watching from Mike's Gaming Gala, who he's been simulcasting over there. Thank you for all of you guys who have been watching over there as well. We'll see you next time. Take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.